So, what part of the world are you in?
I live in northern Alberta. Well, they don't classify it as really north because I'm only 5.5 hours north of Edmonton,
Okay.
which is sort of the geographic center of the province. Don't tell Calgary that. They think they're the center of the province. I'm about 20 minutes out of Peace River, if you know the country at all. And about that far from the top of the map, depending on your scale, the top of the province.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, depending on scale. And it's 8 o'clock in the morning, right?
It I'm sorry, it's 10 after, yeah, but pretty
Oh,
close.
well, I don't care. It's not the 10 after part. It's the so early in the morning. Thanks for coming so early
Oh,
and
no
and
worries.
drinking coffee with me.
My alarm's set for 7. The cat went off at 6:30. It's, yeah, I'm just slow. I'm very slow in the mornings.
It's fine. You take as much time as you want. I do have a meeting at in 48 minutes here, so that's fine. That's plenty of
We're
time.
good. We're good to go.
I'm excited about this one because this is the first time I've recorded a session like this and had absolutely no idea what the guest is going to read.
Oh, I'm reading something?
You
Okay.
are. You are reading.
What am I going to read for you today?
Do you know what you're going to read today?
Uh, n- um, no. What? Anything in particular you would
This
like
is so
me
this
to
is
know?
so this is so fun.
If you say you picked, I'll just yeah. Okay. What are you looking for?
I mean, anything that you're excited to share, so this Authbition, right? It's authenticity and ambition. And I don't know, it's like the theme that I have as a teacher slash writer slash sharer coach is really to my audience is always be your authentic self and live out your own dreams, not the dreams for anybody else, not the dream for other people. Um, I started this podcast because my massage therapist said she loves to read my stuff, but she doesn't like to read. And she asked me, I like how your cat's going across the screen right now.
Oh, actually,
She she's like, could you just do a podcast so I can listen to it while I'm, doing the chores? And and I did that. I've been doing it for a while, but it's kind of boring to do alone. It's just like a podcast is not as fun unless you got some guests on. And I
I'm
thought,
easy to talk to. Yeah.
yeah, but it's weird for me to read, like to invite a guest on and then read an essay of my own. And I thought this is a great way to showcase other people's writing to an audience that maybe doesn't read as much and and I don't know, the audience might like to listen and to read, but it just gets it out to maybe an audience that wouldn't normally catch you on your normal platforms. I mean, I know you from Medium. Do you share your writing anywhere else?
I have done. Not recently. I've been mostly writing for publication, please God,
Mhm.
and
Right. Yeah.
an agent, hopefully to scare one of those up. But yeah, everything else that I write, all my short form tends to go on Medium.
Hmm.
I'm really enjoying Entropies right now, one of Susan's publications, Susan Bird.
Yeah.
It's dark, and a lot of the stuff there it's got a lot of humor in it, but can be kind of twisted, which, that's right in my ballpark there. So we have a very twisted wheelhouse. So
Awesome.
just check it out.
I mean, Entropy is really cool, and the stuff that Susan is doing with it is great. So, um, yeah, I mean, if you've got a piece, what a cool thing to read would be something that's, on media, maybe in entropies that um, is. a 5 minute or less read. You don't have to read the whole thing too. And then this way I can, when I post the episode, I'll post the essay itself so that people can find it and read it, and they can find the publication and learn more about that. So it's really just a way to share what we're doing here
Awesome.
with more people.
I can do that. My voice is a little ratchety this morning, but it'll probably suit the character a little better. When you were talking about authenticity, though, I was going, oh my God, and you're talking to someone who writes fiction
Well,
about authenticity. I make shit up, Andrew. I make up all sorts of stuff. That's what we do, right? Uh,
yeah,
although, as far as authenticity goes, it has to come from an authentic place to start with, or it just doesn't ring true, I believe, anyway.
Mhm.
You have to, they say, write what you know. It's not what you know, it's what you can imagine, what you can dream, what you can wish for, what every little hope and dream I've had since I could put a hope and a dream together, maybe in the same room. That goes into my fiction. So
yeah.
said, yeah, I write fiction and it's not authentic. It is actually probably closer to the authentic person than you're getting in this podcast.
Yeah, I think that's the cool thing about writing, and maybe something that I've really learned through my writing journey. As a teacher, I would tell stories that were generally true stories, but they were really to share a lesson, you know, and and that lesson is the authentic piece that I'm really trying to share from me. And if I look at some of the greatest lessons I've ever learned, they're from Star Wars,
Yeah,
right? So
absolutely.
it doesn't have to be an autobiography. Honestly, one of the other things I've been really interested in this world of like what's a memoir versus what's autobiography versus what is, say, auto fiction, and what category. I just finished reading The Body by Stephen King, and if I had to put The Body by Stephen King into a category, I might call it auto fiction. It feels very memoir-ish, yet it's fiction, yet there's so much about the the who Stephen King is feels so much like you're like reading into this writer's soul, even though it's a fiction piece. And I was listening to another podcast, and I want to say the author that I was listening to is James Fry. Um, and he made this, I think it was him that made this comment about, hey, if I write, say, a memoir, it's like an artist painting a self-portrait. And it doesn't need to be photorealistic to be an accurate representation of the me that I'm trying to put out there. And just imagine all the ways a painter can portray themselves in a self-portrait. And and that's one of the many ways I think about how we write our souls onto the page, and whether it's an autobiography or a memoir or autofiction or straight up fiction, it can still be very authentic, right?
Absolutely. I have found things to hold on to. I have found some of my rocks, some of my knots at the end of the rope in fiction. Some of the most profound pieces of this is how you live your life I found coming out of a character's mouth in a novel, in a
Mhm.
detective story, in a romance, for goodness sakes, anywhere. Just awesome writing. And That's what I try to put into my writing. When I have stuff come out of characters' mouths, yes, it has to be them. I can't jump on a soapbox and have my character go ranting off on one of my, I really hate this is wrong with the world and this is what we have to do to fix it. You can't do that to your characters. But every once in a while, you surprise yourself because you'll put some words in their mouth and you'll go, wow, that's yeah, that's kind of cool. That's almost profound, maybe. Well, yeah, it's yeah, something like that, right? I
Yeah.
don't want to tag my writing with that, but honestly, I have found some real touchstones. That's the word I was groping for, and I write for a living. Touchstone in the craziest of places, the
Mhm.
craziest of places. T.S. Eliot, well, he's pretty profound, but I mean, Ogden Nash wrote some brilliant stuff that, I mean, you have to think about it some mornings, but I've always loved his. I've never seen a purple cow. I hope I never see one, but I can tell you anyhow, I'd rather see than be one. There are a lot of purple cows out there, Andrew. And I'm so glad. Well, metaphorically speaking,
Yes, yes, yes,
but
absolutely.
yeah. That was just story off the top of my head and being silly. I'm just looking for a piece that I can share with you.
Any way you can figure out what you're going to share. This is the most impromptu, authentic, off the cuff, and this is what I love about this the way that I'm doing this podcast. I'm not trying to overproduce it. I'm not trying to. It's authentic. My beard is messy. My office is messy. This is the real life me. I'm not trying to portray an image of anything strange. So find something that works for you to read today and share. And I know
Okay.
it's going to be great because I get to hear you in our workshops. And every time you read anything like a first draft that just flowed, that day, it's always like listening to art. So I'm
Oh,
excited.
bless you. Thank you so much. All right. Would you like a Halloween piece or would you like something a little more recent? I don't have anything Christmassy yet, but wait a minute. Oh, here's one I kind of like. It's called The Little Patisserie on the Corner,
Hmm.
and it came out of one of those prompts. It was a bread prompt.
Oh, the bread prompt. Yes.
And my mind went, bread. I love bread. What can I write about bread? And I promptly didn't write about bread per se, but bread is an important character in this story. It is on where to go? It is on Medium, and it is called The Little Patisserie, which I'm probably mangling on the corner. And the subtitle is Death is Where You Least Expect It. Okay, hang on to your hat. Here we go. So now warn your readers or listeners that this is from Entropy, so it's going to be a bit on the dark side.
Okay.
They might want to have their coffee before they listen to it, but whatever works. Carmine DeMarco skipped down the street towards the little French bakery on the corner, clutching a shiny silver 10-cent piece in one sticky fist. His sturdy brown lace-up boots beat out a stutter-step rhythm on the broad cement pavers siding the asphalt roadway as he danced and hopped to avoid stepping on the cracks. 1, 2, hop, slide, quick step. 1, 2. The built-up sole of his left boot lent his gait a slight hitch, more of an extra lift than a lurch. But his left foot tended to strike the pavement flat on rather than with the heel and toe of most folks. But then Carmine DeMarco was definitely not most folks. At the advanced age of 7 years, thanks to his paws-ready fists and bad temper, Carmine understood more of how the world worked than most people learned in a lifetime. At the tender age of 2, he'd already learned the golden rule: keep your mouth shut no matter what. By 3, he'd conquered social interactions. When Pa comes home with food, eat fast and go to bed. When he comes home loud, lock yourself in your closet. Going to sleep hungry was preferable to going to sleep hungry and hurting. By the time he was 4, Carmine had mastered the fine art of fetching father home and paying off the barman with the few pennies Ma had left after she paid their rent. Ma had 2 jobs, cleaning washrooms in Harper's Emporium, the big department store downtown where the rich people bought their fine clothes, and helping out in the millinery factory to sweep the lint and trim ends from the hat making machines. Ma never complained about her sore, work-reddened hands, rough on Carmine's cheek when she tiptoed into his room to kiss him goodnight. He saw how her mouth tightened and her eyes squinted in pain when she was peeling the spuds for their supper, but she just smiled at him and said not a word. At 5, though, Carmine had a setback. He'd been late coming home with Pa's Friday order of 1 hot French loaf and the racing daily. The bread had cooled while the boy was waiting in line for Pa's newspaper. Not his fault, of course, but Carmine learned the twofold truism that innocence is no defense, and often the messenger does get shot. Or if not shot, at least badly beaten, which accounted for his shortened left leg and the special shoe. Something his pa reminded him about almost daily, his harsh growl echoing in Carmine's memory every time the built-up boot hit the ground. It's your own fault, you lazy brat, Pa would scowl and raise his fist. I give you fair warning. Now your ma has to work extra hours just to pay for them boots, and we already need every cent she brings home. Carmine would try not to flinch. It just made Pa angry, and the next blow would be twice as hard. But today was a good day, a great day. Pa had picked a winner and was off to Murphy's to celebrate, and miraculously, he'd brought home a feast and had given Carmine a whole dime to spend. The cheerful tinkle of the little bell above the bright blue door announced Carmine's entrance into Wonderland and lifted his spirits even higher. By the time Monsieur Montrose appeared from the kitchen in the back, the boy's mouth was watering. The enticing odors of cinnamon and cloves, warm apples, and raspberry jam tickled his nose as he gazed into the display case crammed with sparkling, sugar-crusted confections. Monsieur Montrose came around the counter and knelt beside the transfixed child, patted the little boy's too-thin shoulder. He's hard, no? I never know which is best. The baker's soft French lilt was music in Carmine's ears. Monsieur Montrose gestured towards the kitchen. Come, you must try them all. Otherwise, how will you know which one to buy? He smiled and ushered the boy into his kitchen, pulled up a stool at the pastry bench, and sat Carmine down with a huge glass of fresh milk and a plate of his finest dessert slices. He cut a slab from a deep dish apple tart, still bubbling hot from the oven, took a pinch of coarse, dark powder from a bowl and sprinkled it on top of the golden, flaky pastry, along with a dusting of sugar. Nutmeg. He waved a finger in warning. Too much will make the belly ache and turn you loop-de-loop. But a little, he chuckled and patted his hard little tummy. Magnifique. The bell over the shop door chimed. Monsieur Montrose motioned to the boy to keep eating and bustled into his shop. How can I help you? He began. Then, Monsieur de Marco. Carmine froze. My brat been in yet? Pa's bass growl was mean, as usual, but not mean drunk. Not yet. Non, désolé, I have not seen him. When the little shit shows up, tell him that dime were for bread, not nothing fancy. Carmine's father slammed out of the shop, banging the door behind him. The little silver bell clamored and clanged, nearly jolted off its hook. Carmine's heart sank. The shiny coin which had brought such joy burned his palm like a brand. He blinked back hot tears and stared at the plate of dainties in front of him. The thought of one more bite made his stomach clench. Carmine glanced at the bowl of the nutmeg, then stared at the apple tart. Loop-de-loop? In the shop, Monsieur Montrose was wiping the pastry case. Carmine thought fast. He didn't have much time. When Carmine arrived home, Pa was slumped over his plate at the table, a dozen empties rolling about his feet, a half-full bottle of 10 High clutched in one hand. He hadn't left much of the feast. but the picked over and stirred about remains were still more than Carmine and his ma were used to. He set Pa's French loaf on the table and beside it the warm, fragrant apple tart. Pa lifted bleary eyes, glared at the partly eaten pie. The fuck is that? Monsieur Montrose gave it me, Pa. He said one of the ladies ordered it, but then after a slice, she said it were no good. In fact, Monsieur Montrose had been surprised when Carmine begged to buy the rest of the apple tart for Pa. Carmine had wondered if the baker noticed something amiss, the way he eyed the depleted bowls of sugar and nutmeg, and the slight disturbance of the top crust Carmine had tried to repair. Monsieur Montrose stared hard at Carmine, as if considering saying something, but then he just nodded, stern-faced like a judge, and sent the boy home with his treasure. Pa sneered at the proffered dish. You think I'd eat some toffee-nosed bitch's cast-off muck? Carmine swallowed hard. The baker give me a taste pie. It's real good. He stared at his boots. The boots the boots Pa swore Carmine had earned. I'll take it back if you don't want it, Pa. Pa grabbed the pie tin and a fork. Leave it and get. I'm sick of your face. Carmine fled to the safety of his closet, locked the door behind him, and curled up on the floor with his pillow and a blanket. He lay in the dark, thinking about how when Constable Collins would arrive much later, after one of their nosy neighbors called him as they'd done so often in the boy's short life, Carmine would tell the constable he'd heard his father groaning, that Pa had stumbled outside to the privy and been sick several times. Carmine would say he was pretty sure Pa had staggered down the gravel lane toward the old barge dock at the end of their street. And maybe Carmine had heard a splash. Then Constable Collins' mouth would turn down and his face would come all over sad. He'd offer to make tea and stay with Carmine till his ma got home. But first, before all that, Carmine would slip down to the kitchen and clear away the pie tin, just so there'd be no awkward questions. And much later that night, when Constable Collins finally did arrive, summoned by the nosy neighbor, Carmine learned the most useful lesson of his young life. He learned people see exactly what they expect to see, and most folks are willing to believe anything they already think is true. A mean prick beat his wife and kid, got drunker than usual, fell in the river and drowned. Death by misadventure. Who'd believe a scrawny little 7-year-old with a bum leg could down a big, healthy fellow, even drunk? And who on God's green earth would ever imagine you could kill a man with a nutmeg-laced apple pie? Seriously, who could dream up that shit?
So incredible. I mean, everything that you write, I see. It's like I see the movie in my mind.
Thank you.
Um, wow. So
So that's exactly how I write, Andrew.
yeah.
I'm very visual. I grew up loving movies. When I lived up north, we would get a movie well, my dad was in the Navy, so we had some what they called hardship postings. We didn't
Uh-huh.
think they were hardship. We thought living above the Arctic Circle in a place like a Klavik or Inuvik is close to it now was great. It was an adventure. Having our own dog team was like, wow, hey, we're living the dream, right?
Hmm.
We didn't know what that meant, but yeah. So but as part of the hardship posting, they would send for the men to watch, of course, a new movie, like a new movie, right out of the theatrical release every week
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
make the hardship posting a little sweeter. And the guys at the mess were really nice. So they would invite the families of the married men who worked there to come and they'd make popcorn for us and they'd sell pop, and
Hmm.
we'd sit there, all us little kids. Of course, we had to behave on pain of death, but we got to watch a free movie every week as I was growing up. So it was fantastic. So I'm very visual. I studied art and design in my misspent youth and was going to be an artist and decided that was way too much like work. And I didn't want to move to New York. And yeah, anyway, not my scene. But I see things. So when I'm writing a piece, it's like I'm running the video back and forth, the film, through the cutter and looking at it frame by frame till I
Mhm.
find the interesting part that makes me go, oh yeah, that's the part. And then I write that. And when I'm stuck, I imagine what the characters are doing, and I let the scene roll in my mind, and then I
Mhm.
read it. So yeah,
It's so brilliantly done, though. I mean, just one part that stuck out to me is the bell clanging on the door, which you share with us early in the story, and it's like a nice visual detail. But then when the father comes in and rants and raves and slams the door back behind him, that you've already shared that bell with us, and seeing it clanging the second time is so much more powerful. I want to know. So tell us, you mentioned before you started reading that this came from a prompt on bread.
yes.
So can you give us a peek into how your mind works when at that moment it's like, okay, bread, sit down, you've got an hour. This is how these sessions usually go. We get together, a prompt is shared, and then, we
30
get to
minutes
sit
of
and
it.
write for an hour alone. What's happening in your mind as you sit there and think, bread?
Well, first I thought toast. God, I could kill for a slice of toast right now. And it just popped into, I thought bread, pastries. Okay, let's run this down. I've never tracked this through. So, in at my ripe old age of never mind, I finally received a provisional diagnosis of ADHD. They never diagnosed ADHD when I was a kid. They didn't know what it was. They didn't have the vocabulary for it.
Mhm.
Kids like that were called what did they call them? I can't remember anymore. Um, the terminology has changed so much, but I was always called a dreamer in school, and you have a good attention span. Like I have this laser focus if it's something I'm interested in, but if I'm not interested, I can find 50 million other things to do. But having learned how to cope with this all my life, I can hold down a job and very detail oriented and all that good stuff. But my mind is like butterfly, squirrel. You say a word to me and it just sort of, oh, flour. Oh, sorry. What was the word? Bread. Oh yeah, bread. Well, my daughter-in-law always brings me pastries on Saturday. But oh, pastry shop. Oh yeah, bread. No, squirrel. No. Oh no, bread. Bread. Get back to the bread. Okay, bread, bread, bread. So I wrote this little short piece about this woman who was a terrible baker, and she was always entering the bakery shows, bakery contests, and small town. She would bring her bread to the strawberry tea and to the church social, and everybody would go, "Oh, look, you brought banana loaf." Ooh, and they'd run away as fast as they could because she was a terrible baker. So this one time she shows up and she wins the prize, which you find out at the end of the story, but it's a frozen loaf. And so, of course, the author of the story is incredibly pissed off with this fake bread. And so that one came out pretty fast. But my mind was still going, I wonder what Katrina's bringing me today. I wonder if it'll be one of those really nice ones with the chocolate in the pastry. And oh, maybe it'll be a bread. Okay, bread. Come on, Lynn, bread. Okay. Oh, wait. There's this really cool pastry shop in our town. See, butterflies, squirrels. And it's called Northern Dough, and they make the most amazing bread, which I don't buy and bring into my house because anything that comes into my house gets in my mouth, which is awkward sometimes if I've just bought shoes. But anyway, um, she brings me pastries Saturday mornings where we're supposed to be practicing for choir, for our community choir concert. So yeah, the little pastry shop on the, well, I couldn't put Northern Dough in because I mean it just doesn't sound Northern Dough.
Mm.
It's great for a shop when you actually drive up there and say, oh, I bet they make really good bread. I wonder if they make anything else, but not for a story. It wasn't quite. So I thought, ooh, French bread. I like French bread. Thank you, Cass. No, stop that. No, stop it.
We're talking to a cat right now.
Decided, sorry, he's decided this is the creamsicle menace. His name is George. He helps me write. Say hi, George. Yeah, you're such a pretty
Hi,
boy.
George. George is a big, fluffy cat.
He is
He,
absolutely beautiful, what they call a flame point.
wow.
He
He's
has a
gorgeous.
ginger kitty somewhere in his past, but you can see the faint coloring on his ears. And he
Yeah.
has the bright blue eyes when he chooses not to be an ass and open them and look pretty. But I don't have any tuna right now, so he doesn't feel the need to be pretty. He's just scratching on the screen to get my attention because he knows I will yell at him. He's like a 2-year-old, if they can't get your attention by going, mom, mommy, mom, ah, mommy, 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 mommy. Well, I'm on the computer right now and it's Friday and he knows I don't work today. So he's taking offense to this. I should be spending my time with the creamsicle menace. But, but now I'm holding him, so he's relatively happy. Anyway, squirrels.
Mhm.
So I don't know. The French bread popped into my mind. I'm not a huge fan of French bread. I prefer sourdough, but it just wasn't going together in the story for me somehow. But as
Mhm.
soon as I thought the little patisserie on the corner popped into my brain, along with the other squirrels and the butterflies and, all the loaves of bread. And there you go. That's my process. It
Mhm.
made a picture. It made a picture of this sweet little shop somewhere. And I've always loved setting things maybe in the past, maybe not in the past, but
Mhm.
I'm an old fart, Andrew. I've,
Yeah.
been around for a year or three, so I'm quite comfortable writing 40s and 50s. And even though 40s is like before my time, thank you. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's the process. It's just all these little things that come in and make a spark, and then all of a sudden I look and oh, there's a flower. Oh, that looks interesting. Let's write that. And,
Yeah.
and it just kind of goes from there. And the boots really, really, once I saw the little boy going down the street with his dime, with his boots, and oh, one of them doesn't, yeah, he's got a limp. Why does he have a limp? Oh, because his dad's a beater. He's a dickhead beater. And you just ask yourself, why this? And something else pops in. Oh, that's interesting. Does that fit? Oh, why that? And
Yeah.
yeah, just kind of put the little jigsaw pieces together. There's a lot of stuff in there, probably
Yeah.
stuff that shouldn't be in there. But, all those movies and books, and I'm an avid reader. So books, any book that came into our house, we were allowed to read as kids. I,
Right.
I wrote a little post about that. About read what I suspect was a very dirty book. I don't remember very much about it. It was the bishop's something or other, and it had no picture on the cover, so that should have been a clue right there. But my
Mm.
dad had left his briefcase open, silly man, and we were allowed to read anything. So I read it, did not understand word one and what it was about, but I suspect it was quite a dirty book. He
Mhm.
kept his briefcase locked after that because I probably asked what are the bishops, whatever it was, and they went okay. But yeah, so yeah, any book I can get my hands on, um, read movies, yeah,
Mhm.
love it. All visual stuff, artwork, 70 plus years worth of stuff, life,
Yeah.
people, and my family. Oh my God, my family is a treasure trove. I have to be really careful not to write too much of them into things. I have a
They don't know who they are because it's fiction, right? So you can borrow different family members. I think what's
oh,
cool about I mean, it's your process is one of the themes that I talk a lot about on this podcast is I call it whole mind thinking. But it's really it's at the end of the day, it's yes and thinking. It's Jim Collins will say the genius of the and the tyranny of the or. In improv, it's you say that yes and to kind of keep the
Absolutely.
creativity going. And I felt like as you were going through your process, it's like, oh, there's this bakery, and then who's walking to the bakery? There's a kid walking to the bakery, and what about this kid? Oh, and he's wearing boots. Oh, and the boots, he's got a limp. And why does he have a limp? And you've got like this like series of A and D that just creates an infinite amount of possibilities to write this fantastic visual journey that you took us on.
Well, and that's interesting too that you mentioned that because uh I was bound for teaching. Then I went into the visual arts for a while and like I said, decided, yeah, no, the BFA program was wonderful, but it was like not going in directions that I wanted to go in because they were all into, hey, quit that. They were all into stop fighting. Sorry, Cat wants my attention. Stop it. You get my attention in a minute, little brat. Yeah, never shake your finger to a cat. That's what they do when they're threatening each other, is the paw comes up, right? Got to remember that. Sorry, butterflies. Um, I when I was in art and design at uni, I walked past a theater design studio and I saw the maquettes, the set designs
Hmm.
and the costume designs, and I went, oh, theater. So I signed up to be a stage manager. I eventually took my degree, yeah,
Hmm.
in theater directing. But in improv, and the first improv class I took was yes and
Hmm.
and your whole mind thing. I've been putting it down to ADHD for years, but it's not. It really is thinking with your whole mind. So we who are on the spectrum and neurodiverse certainly have an advantage over linear thinkers, don't you think?
I do, yeah, yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I don't necessarily like the idea of medicating
Oh,
to make it go.
God, no.
It's a beautiful way of thinking, right? It's just it's different than the linear thinkers, and I think learning how to think all the ways, right? I mean, I'm more of a divergent. I am absolutely a divergent thinker. I'm
Mhm.
constantly diverging, and it's harder for me to narrow things down. Um, but you have to learn how to do it. You have to learn how to narrow
Exactly.
things down,
Yeah.
right? And as a coach, I find that a lot of the people that I work with they're convergent thinkers. They're very narrow. They're very linear, right? And
Mhm.
that's fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that way of thinking, right? And so it's like, hey, sometimes you want to, regardless of what way you use your mind, that the idea of whole mind thinking is learn all the other ways. Right.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Because if you, it's what I would tell my actors: fill the box. Bring me everything you can for this character. Nothing's too wild. If it's too wild and crazy, I'll tell you. Trust me, that's
Mhm.
my job. But fill the box, and then
Yeah.
more, and go beyond the box. Because if
Yeah.
you don't bring everything you can think of, how do you know what's the best stuff to pick? Right?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
do you know what to choose? Because eventually you do have to convert, you do have to refine, you do have to say, this is essential, this is important, this not so much, this is
Yeah.
interesting, but it doesn't really inform what I'm doing, so it can go over here. But
Yeah.
these things are the things I need to keep for that's how I write. Throw in everything and then what makes the pattern work, what tells the story. Same
Yeah.
acting, same with so many disciplines. Bring
Yeah.
everything and select.
Yeah. And you do converge down to, if you think about it, you've got like the bread divergent brainstorm. you've got and I'm reading into this, so you tell me if my interpretation is right, but you've got this bread divergent brainstorm. There's a publication you have in mind. You're like, oh, what could I put in entropies so it's going to be darker, right? So you have that lens that you can kind of filter with. And in the end, you tell, a really powerful message too, right? I mean, who knows what your subtext was, but certainly my interpretation near the end of that, you know, really powerful story is that we see the world the way we want to see it. We paint the picture we want to see, and we're living in a world right now where a lot of people see the world in two very different ways, and there may be nothing wrong with those two very different ways. They're just we're painting it how we want to see it, right? And so to be able to have such a divergent brainstorm off the topic of bread land on such a powerful, relevant topic, at least landed that way for me, I think is that's something special about great writers.
Well, thank you so much. I'm humbled. My ego is like,
Your ego is gonna explode
uh,
when the tens of listeners
we'll pool our sources here, right? With my tens of readers.
Yeah. Yeah, well, tens of listeners,
Awesome.
tens of
Awesome.
readers will come together and your ego will blow off the
I know
screen.
it. I'll start thinking I'm Stephen King or somebody, famous. Oh, that's funny. That is so funny. Thank you for that. I tried, and that ending there, it really just made sense. And sometimes I don't realize beyond the plot points where the story's going,
Hmm.
and I'll start to get there, and all of a sudden this idea will go, oh, that's what this story is all about. And
Hmm.
it tracks through the whole piece that we see what we want to see and we believe what we already believe.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm not always terribly profound, or but I try, God knows, to come up with
Uh-huh.
something out of the story. Like, what is it really about, to find the heart of it? So thank you for that. That's awesome.
Well, you're very welcome. And thank you for being with me here today. Am I going to see you at the
Absolutely.
workshop later today?
You better believe it. I got 1,000, just over 1,000 words in on my fourth novella. One is completed. Two and three are sadly lacking. They're only one crossed the 11,000. The other's just creeping up to it. So they each need at least, 8,000 more words. And
Yeah.
that's scary when you think about it, but not so much. But my other one's over 18, so I'm trying not to turn it into a novel.
Hmm.
Um, but I've got a good chunk of it for today, so I'm going to keep gnawing away on that. But I'm totally looking forward to what everybody has to share and talk about, and it's such a great group. I love it.
Yeah, me too. I'm taking, I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of a 3,000 word novella, and I'm shelving it.
Uh-huh.
Today, I'm gonna start first words on the page. I think I want to move in. I want to write a memoir in 2026.
Awesome.
And it just started to crystallize over the last couple of days. And today in our session, the very first words will be put on the page. So we'll see what happens.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Yay.
Yeah. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining me
Oh,
today.
thank
Uh,
you, Andrew.
I'll
This
let you
is
know when
much
it, posts to the
perfect.
tens of people in the full interweb. And
Yes. Awesome. Out there in whatever land,
yeah,
podcast.
yes, in podcast, you're in podcast land now. So thank you for
Well,
being
you
with
know
me
what? When
today.
you go viral, you can look back on this and say, and this was one of the first ones I ever did. And, I
Yeah,
think 10, 11 people watched this, and it was my start. And yeah, awesome.
yeah,
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me today, Andrew. It was great fun.
yeah. Thank you. I'll see you tonight.
You bet.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye.